Let's face it, there's something different in Dungeons and Dragons between a murder hobo and a straight up murderer. Okay, I'm going to talk today on the DnDaily vlog here about my view of like what is a murder hobo and what should we do about them? Well, I could pretty much answer the first part of that, or I guess the second part of that question real easily right here out of the gate, is that I don't think you necessarily need to do anything in particular about them. However, there should definitely be some consequences. All right, so let me break this down. Again, this is just my perspective. This is how I see it, what the term means to me, and you please feel free to disagree or to share your different perspectives, of course, here in the video on the comments, as always. My perspective is this. I think of murder hobos as being that sort of like hack and slash style of play that my group used to do for years and years, where rather than have a conversation with something or someone in their way, they'd rather just try to like kill their way through and find a solution that way. Like, rather than trying to, have a parlay or try to negotiate, their form of negotiation involved a sharp sword and some fire or something like that, right? I know I was part and parcel to groups that were like that, where we would just run roughshod over whatever the DM sort of put in front of us. Maybe we would come up with creative solutions if there were like specific obstacles, traps, tricks, puzzles and that kind of thing. But generally speaking, if it was a living creature of some form that seemed to be antagonistic, we would pretty much just do what we did. We were adventurers, right? So to me, I feel like that's sort of what a murder hobo is. They like to solve their problems with violence. On the other hand, a straight up murderer, like a serial killer, like homicidal maniac, is someone who's literally going to kill everything and everyone. They will have no qualms about like fireballing innocents. Like you're in a bar and there's like a bar fight breaks out or something. The villain happens to be in the tavern and they're just like, fireball! And you're like, whoa, wait a minute. There's like lots of other patrons in there, and their answer is like, fireball, level 6 or something. They want to juice it up or whatever. So yeah, to me, there's a huge difference between being that kind of like evil, let's just call it what it is, an evil character that is really quite willing and maybe even quick to just like stab someone, and the party or the player character that like uses violence to solve their problems. I think there's a difference. I would say that you could probably have both in a game. If you're a DM and you find that one of the players or even multiple players are sort of doing either of these kind of activities, my only advice would be there has to be consequences. There has to be. There has to be some kind of repercussion or pushback or unforeseen result of these kind of like thoughtless actions. Otherwise, you're just doing sort of a, how do I want to say it? You're just doing a war game, essentially, which is fine, and by all means, I know there's plenty of tables where they play D&D as if it's a war game, and they just run through combats because they enjoy that. That's fine. That's cool. If it's challenging for you, if it's not the kind of style you're interested in, or it's, it doesn't fit your table and so forth, and you're running the game, it's your responsibility to inject real consequences for these actions. And when I say consequences, it could range. It could be anything from, the characters or character literally gets like arrested, thrown in jail by the city watch or something like that. And if in that same example, they are so powerful that they just wipe the floor with the city guard because, hey, why not? They don't care. They're murder hobos. Actually, they're murderers is a better way to say it. You have to there has to be something that's done where maybe there's bounty hunters or like a mercenary group or some crazy high magic user that comes into play that sort of puts that player or that, not the player, because you're not trying to put the player in their place, but that character, that individual in the game or that party in check. Like something needs to put them in check. So you can range from that all the way across to the more subtle, if you think this will work in your game, the more subtle repercussions of things like, well, that person had the information you needed and now you're going to have to find another way to get it. And it should be very obvious, like make it painfully or at the very least blatantly obvious where like maybe they kill they kill a NPC because they just don't care. And the NPC, you thought they were going to have a conversation with this NPC, and instead they just decided to execute them. Here's the kind of thing I would do in a situation like that. If I knew the NPC was trying to convey information to them, I would have either some kind of like, maybe they find a letter that has some information, but it leaves more questions than it answers, or maybe you literally roleplay. You actually have like the dying words of this character be like an unfinished sentence or an unfinished name, or like you'll rue the day you crossed the what? Cross the who? Cross the, you kind of set up this moment of tension of like, well, you could have found something out from them. Unfortunately, you decided that they were better off dead. So I really love, I think murder hobos are great. I love in a game when, everybody's trying to like ask questions and sometimes the game sort of grinds to a halt because people are being overly cautious, or they're just like beating a dead horse, or they're just asking inane questions, or being sort of like, they're how do I want to say it? They're making the role-playing just to like stroke their own egos. They're role-playing just to like gain the center of attention in a very immature and uncool way, rather than trying to move the story forward. Sometimes we need a murder hobo. In like those circumstances, you want that person in the party who is more action than words, who is just willing to like touch the shiny, press the button, or, push that person over the cliff because it just seemed like the right thing to do in the moment. Yeah, sometimes we gotta give thanks for the murder hobos out there. I'm all for it if it makes sense. And I would hope both the player controlling the character and the character would over time show some growth and maybe not always answer their questions at the end of a pointy stick. Hey, I had fun with this topic. Check this video out next. I'm sure that one's going to be fun for you as well. I'll see you at a table someday, my friend. Keep rolling 20s until then, and remember, it's your game. Play your way.